Have you ever wondered what happens when the rules of the battlefield are brought into a courtroom? Today, we're diving deep into the 2002 powerhouse film Hart's War, a movie that masterfully blends a classic war story with a gripping legal drama. Set against the bleak, frozen backdrop of a German POW camp during World War II, this film isn't just about survival. It's about honor, sacrifice, and the complex nature of justice when all seems lost. Our story begins in December 1944. During the chaotic Battle of the Bulge, we meet First Lieutenant Thomas Hart, played by a young Colin Farrell. Hart isn't a battle-hardened soldier. He's a Yale law student who found himself serving as an aide to a general far from the front lines. But war has a way of finding everyone. Ambushed and captured by German soldiers, Hart is interrogated. Under duress, he reveals information, a decision that will haunt him for the rest of the film. This moment of weakness, this perceived failure of his duty, sets the stage for his entire journey. Stripped of his rank and dignity, Hart is sent to Stalag Vaya, a notorious prisoner of war camp. The camp is a world unto itself, with its own brutal hierarchy and unwritten rules. The man in charge of the American prisoners is the formidable Colonel William McNamara, portrayed with steely resolve by Bruce Willis. McNamara is the fourth-generation West Point officer, the embodiment of military tradition and honor. He looks at Hart not as a fellow officer, but with contempt. To him, Hart is a desk jockey who cracked under pressure, a man who doesn't understand the true meaning of sacrifice. The tension between Hart and McNamara is immediate and palpable. McNamara assigns Hart to the enlisted men's barracks, a clear and deliberate insult to his officer status. It's here, among the grunts and the forgotten soldiers, that Hart begins to see the grim reality of life in the camp. The prisoners are cold, hungry, and demoralized, clinging to any semblance of routine to keep from losing their minds. The dynamic of the camp is thrown into chaos with the arrival of two new prisoners, First Lieutenants Lincoln Scott and Lamar Archer, both Tuskegee Airmen. Their presence as black officers in a predominantly white camp introduces a new volatile layer of conflict. Racism, an ugly truth back home, is just as present and venomous within the prison walls. The other prisoners, particularly a racist sergeant named Bedford, openly antagonize Scott and Archer. McNamara, for his part, seems indifferent to their plight, viewing their presence as just another problem he has to manage. Tragedy strikes quickly. A valuable piece of equipment, a portable radio, is found planted in Archer's bunk. Despite his innocence, he is summarily executed by the German guards as a scapegoat. The camp is a tinderbox, and Archer's death is the spark. Later, Sergeant Bedford, the man who was most openly hostile to the two airmen, is found murdered. The prime suspect is immediately Lieutenant Scott, who is seen standing over the body. The German commandant, Oberst Werner Visser, is more than happy to see the Americans tear themselves apart. He agrees to let the prisoners hold a court-martial for Scott, but it's clear he views it as mere entertainment, a way to pass the time before he inevitably has Scott executed. For Visser, a Cornell-educated officer who despises his Nazi superiors, the war is already lost, and the trial is a cynical amusement. This is where the film pivots into a full-blown courtroom drama. Colonel McNamara, seeing an opportunity, appoints the inexperienced Hart to defend Lieutenant Scott. Why? At first, it seems like another act of contempt, setting Hart up to fail. But McNamara has a hidden agenda, one that slowly unfolds as the trial progresses. He needs this trial. He needs it to be a distraction, a grand piece of theater to divert the attention of the entire camp, including the German guards. Hart, initially reluctant, takes the case. For him, this isn't just about defending an innocent man. It's a chance at redemption. It's an opportunity to use his legal skills, the one thing he excels at, to fight for justice and prove his worth, not just to McNamara but to himself. He throws himself into the investigation, questioning witnesses and piecing together the events of the murder. He discovers that Bedford was a known informant, trading information to the guards for special privileges. This revelation suggests that many people had a motive to kill him, not just Scott. The trial itself is the heart of the film. Conducted in a freezing barracks, with prisoners as the jury and McNamara as the presiding judge, it's a desperate attempt to impose order and principle in a place defined by chaos. Hart argues passionately, challenging the prejudices of the other prisoners and pointing out the inconsistencies in the case against Scott. He clashes repeatedly with McNamara, who seems determined to rush the proceedings and secure a guilty verdict. Hart begins to suspect that Scott is being set up, a pawn in a much larger game. He's right. As the trial reaches its climax, Hart uncovers the truth. The court-martial is a meticulously planned diversion. While the entire camp is fixated on the drama unfolding in the barracks, McNamara is leading a secret operation. He and a hand-picked team are digging an escape tunnel, not from the barracks, but from a location right under the noses of the guards. Their target is a nearby munitions factory that they plan to destroy, a final defiant act of war. Bedford's murder wasn't a crime of passion or prejudice. He was executed by McNamara's men because he had discovered the tunnel and was about to expose them. The final piece of the puzzle falls into place for Hart. Lieutenant Scott was never meant to be convicted. He was chosen as the defendant because McNamara knew he was a man of honor who would play his part, even if it meant risking his own life. The trial was designed to go on for exactly as long as McNamara needed to complete his mission. In a stunning final act of self-sacrifice, Hart realizes what he must do. As McNamara's team escapes to carry out their sabotage, the trial concludes. To ensure the escape plan succeeds and to save Scott, Hart stands before the court and confesses to Bedford's murder himself. He fabricates a story, claiming he killed Bedford to stop him from informing on a planned escape. It's a lie, but it's a lie that serves a greater purpose. It completes the circle of his redemption. The man who began the film by cracking under pressure now willingly sacrifices his own freedom, and likely his life, for the sake of his fellow soldiers in the mission. McNamara, in his final moments before leaving the camp, gives Hart a nod of respect, a silent acknowledgement of his bravery. The student has finally become the soldier. The film ends with Hart being led away by the German guards, his fate uncertain but his honor restored. He has finally won his own war, not on the battlefield, but in the courtroom of his conscience. Hart's War is more than just a suspenseful thriller. It's a profound exploration of what it means to be a soldier, what it means to be a leader, and the price of honor. It asks difficult questions. What is justice in a lawless world? When is it right to sacrifice one man for the good of many? And how does one find redemption in the face of failure? The film's power lies in its complex characters and the moral gray areas they inhabit. It's a story that stays with you, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit even in the darkest of times. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into classic films. See you next time.